Now, the moment you decide you're going to purchase a firearm and become a firearms owner, understand you are taking on the responsibilities that you may perhaps have never had. And by not taking some of these responsibilities seriously and being a responsible gun owner, you are potentially risking going to jail or worse, putting yourself or other people's lives in danger. Now, these are just common gun safety rules you should already know before purchasing a firearm, but I'll go over them just in case someone's watching this and hasn't heard them before. First, treat all firearms as if they were loaded. Now, I'll admit I'm a young gun owner. I like to joke around and have fun, but when it comes to using a tool that could possibly take the life of one of my friends or a family member, we are not fucking around. Next is never point at anything you're not willing to destroy. Now, like I said, I'm young. I get the joke of, hey, I got my gun aimed at you, ha ha ha. No, not in this scenario where we're dealing with real life guns. I've seen too many negligent discharges that could have easily been avoided if they simply followed the basic firearm safety rules. That is keeping your firearm pointed in a safe direction and having your finger off the trigger, which brings me to my next safety rule, which is always keep your finger off the trigger until you are ready to shoot. The last safety rule is know what's behind your target. Now, this one's really important because it's a reminder to always check and make sure we have a safe backstop in case we were to miss our target. So now, the moment you buy and pick up your gun, usually, I don't know if this is a California thing or if it varies depending on the shop, but usually before they hand you over your firearm, they'll give you a quick and basic rundown on how to handle and load your weapon. Now, like I said, I don't know if this is a California thing or if it varies depending on the shop. You guys can let me know down in the comments below. Now, another thing I recommend to buy once you have decided on the firearm you're planning to purchase is some dummy rounds. These are going to help a lot to train and learn how to operate your weapon in a safe manner. Okay, now let's say no one gives you a rundown on how to operate your weapon. It is now your responsibility to read the manual. Or if you're like me and you're a visual learner, YouTube is going to be your best friend for a lot of things relating to your firearm. Here, you'll be able to find thousands of creators that have reviewed and shown how to operate your weapon. So read or watch a couple of those videos and then practice them yourself with an empty gun or with dummy rounds, and just keep practicing until you understand the basics and feel comfortable with your weapon. Now, it's your responsibility to properly be storing your firearm when it's not being used. Things like a safe lock, which are good for the meanwhile, but I wouldn't recommend for long term, especially if you're planning to make this firearm like a home defense weapon. Instead, depending on the firearm, try to find like a pistol safe or a cabinet. These options are not only great to ensure no one will have access to your firearm but you, but also give you faster access to your weapon than something like a safe lock, you know? Now, of course, later down the line, if you are planning to collect more firearms, it is highly recommended to actually get a safe, which, yes, will be much heavier than say something like a cabinet, but also much harder to be broken into. Now, from here on out, it is your responsibility, and yes, I'm going to keep using the word responsibility because that's what it is. Going to the range and training as often as you possibly can is your responsibility. Now, some people recommend twice a month. I can't really say because that is something you have to figure out based on your budget and schedule, but here's where discipline is going to play a huge role. Let's say you could only afford and have time to go to the range once or twice a month. Okay, that's fine, but that should not stop you from training and dry firing at home. Now, if you have the money to spare, there's multiple tools out there that can help you from the comfort of your home to safely train with your firearm. Even if it's just for a couple of minutes every day, I promise you all that training that is done at home will be transferring when it's time to hit the range. Now, the same way we take care of our cars by changing out the oil and replacing the filter, we have to make sure that we are maintaining our firearms by cleaning it to make sure everything's running well. Now, I'd be lying to you if I told you I clean my gun every time I go shooting, because I don't. Now, I know some people that like to do that. Others, it's after a certain amount of rounds. Some, prefer to do it at the end of the month type of thing. I don't recommend what I do, but I just go with my gut. I look at my gun and I'm like, yeah, it's about time. Which that could be after, say, something like 3 sessions done, over 3 consecutive days where I have shot maybe around 200 to 300 rounds in total. So try to figure out what works best for you, but most important, your gun. Now, of course, it is your responsibility to know your state laws when it comes to firearms and self-defense. For example, here in California, we have something called the Castle Doctrine, which protects the rights of individuals to use reasonable force, which, yes, includes deadly force to defend yourself inside your home. Now, each state is different. Some states actually require you to retreat before using force to defend yourself, which, if you ask me, is pretty stupid how a line changes all the legal ways you're allowed to defend yourself. Look, this is not legal advice, but I just keep it simple. It doesn't matter if I'm inside or outside my home. If someone is attempting to inflict seriously bodily harm on me, you are getting put down. Simple as that. Now, back to more state laws, it is your responsibility to check and see if you can or cannot add, and in some cases, remove certain attachments on your weapon. For example, can I add a suppressor on my firearm? Not if you live in California. Can you take off this gay fin grip off your rifle and use your gun normally? Not if you live in California. Can I add a flash hider on my rifle? Not if you live in California. Can I have more than 10 rounds in my magazine? Not if you live in California. Can I carry my handgun on my person for my own personal protection without a permit? Not if you live in California. You know, you would need a CCW permit to legally carry. Now, of course, I highly recommend everyone, once they feel comfortable and are ready, to get their permit if they live in a state that requires one. Now, on a more serious note, one of the last things I really want to talk about when it comes to being a responsible gun owner is self-control. Now, it doesn't matter who you are. You can be a pastor or a therapist. We all deal with situations that can make us feel angry, and I'm no different than anyone else. I've said some crazy wild things driving alone that, as a gun owner, does not look good on me. Now, of course, I've never taken or thought of taking these thoughts and turning them into actions, and it's because of self-control. Now, we can't control our thoughts, but what we can do is control our actions, because it hurts seeing gun owners getting arrested or sometimes unalive because they couldn't control themselves and let go of certain situations, like someone cutting them off on the road or someone verbally insulting them. Now, I thank God I've learned this at a young age, because I used to be someone who was quick to anger. If you insulted me or I felt like you were disrespecting me, we were going to fight. Now, I thank God for helping me become more patient and slow to anger in all situations, and I'm nowhere close to perfect, but as a gun owner, that is something we need more of. People who de-escalate situations and walk away. Now, I know in this generation that can be looked at as being a pussy or a little bitch, because you didn't want to throw your life away and fight some random dude on the streets. But to me, that's just part of maturing and understanding that when you have or you carry a tool, you have to remind yourself that you're also carrying the responsibility of only using that weapon when your life is in serious danger of imminent bodily harm and nothing else. Hey guys, thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it to the end of the video, I'd really appreciate if you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want to get in contact with me, you can send me a DM on Instagram at ShadowTheWicked. I try my best to reply and answer everyone's questions or chats on there. Also, I post on there pretty often videos that you probably won't be seeing here on Instagram, since, you know, I want to keep my Instagram more about training and showing drills that I'm currently, practicing. But aside from all that, thank you guys again for all the support. Hope you guys have a good weekend. Stay safe and God bless.